Let's do it.
Diabolical. What is happening, everybody? My name is Julius, and I am here with Daniel once again, and we are here to talk about The Boys.
Rome, Greece. All democracies fail because people are fucking stupid.
As a show, the last episode is coming out tonight in a couple hours at this point, and I'm really excited for that episode. This season so far has been pretty exciting for me. I'm excited to hear what Daniel has to say about it because he and I have talked about The Boys for a while since the show came out and everything, and there's a lot to talk about with the show, obviously, and especially now that times are just kind of crazy, to say the least. This show comes off as prophetic in some ways. But first of all, Daniel, I just want to say, what's up? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing? Thanks for having me on.
Of course, I'm just surviving like everyone else.
Of course.
It's kind of crazy right now. This week has been insane, but we've been posting the X-Men videos and the discussions we did for leading up to Deadpool and Wolverine, and they're helping me keep my sanity at least.
Cool. Yeah. Sure. No, those were really fun to do.
I know it was crazy talking to you and Angel and everything. Lots of fun. It took me back to the old days and everything.
Yeah, sure. It was fun.
Yeah, and I just want to say, we just reached a bit over 200 subscribers, so we're doing something.
Yeah,
we're doing something right.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
Thank you, Daniel. And I just want to warn you, just being associated on this channel, you're gonna be considered woke now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, of course. I don't know if that's possible with like my views, but we'll see.
Anything is possible.
Yeah, anything's possible nowadays, right? Yeah.
The wokest Doctor Doom fan I've ever met.
Right. Yeah, true. Yeah, don't give me Superman powers, man. Don't give them to me.
Oh my God, dude, this show's about you.
Yeah, I know. A lot of times I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? Like, you know what I mean? No. But you know how I feel of it. Like, let's say, something basic and simple where we don't have to get into, but like we have this inside joke going, but soon I don't
to be outside joke.
Yeah, right. But I don't agree with Batman's no kill rule. I mean, I agree with it in terms of story and like how it pertains to Batman as a character. Like, he should not kill because that's what makes him compelling and everything like that. But in real life, if we were put this, we had a debate years ago about it. But
I'll probably post that on Batman Day.
Yeah, hey, that would be good. But yeah, I do not agree with his no kill rule. I don't, and we don't have to get into it, but I don't think the law agrees with it. I don't think I agree with it. But yeah, that's why when I see Homelander and like, certain things with the boys, not even just Homelander, but the way the boys portrays like superheroes, I'm like, hey, I'm kind of down with some of this, what I mean? So,
especially Butcher, dude.
Oh, Butcher's my guy. He's my guy, I like Butcher.
I got my Butcher fit on right now, dude.
Hey, let's go. Billy the Crowbar and everything. That's right. Let's go. Let's go. That's the way to do it.
Oh, I bought this today, dude. This is a real crowbar, and I'm ready for the soups.
Hey, you need it. That comes in handy for many different reasons. But yes.
Dude, I mean, I know you're all about two-way and everything, but I got my my crowbar right here just in case anyone.
Yeah, man, you need something. You can't have nothing, So,
dude, the way he fights with the crowbar always bothers me because it's like, I don't know if you've noticed this, but he's always like the episode from last week when Black Noir and Deep came in and everything.
Oh,
he's just like and he's got this crowbar and he's doing it like this.
Yeah,
like, what are you doing, bro?
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, not effective. You can cause more damage with it, but It's just the
I
show.
know.
So yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Well, before we talk about The Boys specifically, I do want to give a bit of a warning to the people who might be listening. Two warnings. The first one is there will be spoilers. Uh,
Okay.
the second one is that we might delve into politics because this show, this season specifically, is very political. And this past week has been pretty nuts regarding you know, the state of our country, state of our world and everything. And we're not going to get so deep into political talk. We're not going to argue or anything. Even if we do argue, it's going to be civil.
Yeah,
Um,
of course, always.
but I just want to let people know because it's just there's no getting around it with especially this season
This
of The
show in
Boys.
general, but yes, this season for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
The people will tear it apart themselves. You just gotta nudge them a little. Then you get to swoop in, be the one saving it.
Like Caesar.
Like Caesar.
damn it. All right, I guess we got to talk about The Boys now.
I guess.
Dude, haven't you? I'm curious if you thought that. You know what? I know you've thought this. Well, watching the show, I'm thinking, dude, I need like a crisis on two Earths to happen where the Justice League comes in to take care of the seven, dude, because they are too much. The seven,
They're too much. They're
irreparable.
wild. Yeah, they're wild.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I mean, in the show they talk about it, right? Like that's why Starlight
Mhm.
is not down with them. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
she's like, I'm not a part of this. I don't want to be affiliated with this. This is really whatever. But there's really not really that many redeemable characters in the show, just in general. You know what I mean? Because they do
Yeah.
try to make it realistic, so it's hard to have like these redeemable characters because we're all flawed, and they try to kind of show that, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's an unapologetic show, so you know,
Yeah.
um, it gets like that, and then the villains are even worse, you know. So if the heroes
Oh,
are
yeah.
flawed, then the villains are even worse in the show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, The Boys obviously is it has a long history to it. It obviously started as a comic from I believe it was Dynamite that put it out originally and written by Garth Ennis, who, you know, is notorious for his hatred of superheroes. Has written a
Right.
lot of stuff. I think he is from Scotland and he did also a long running series on The Punisher, which I'm sure you've read. You know, it's where that famous scene from Daredevil is from, where Daredevil's chained up. Punisher gives him a choice between shooting the guy or not shooting the guy,
Right.
or him shooting the guy or the Punisher shooting
Right.
the guy.
Right.
Right? It's
Right.
something like to that effect.
Of
Um,
course, yeah.
obviously has a big Garth Ennis hates most superheroes and created The Boys as kind of his vice for that, right? His way of saying fuck these guys. And
Right.
the
Right.
comic book, did you ever read any of the comic book?
I read it after the show, though. You know, so I read
Oh, okay.
some of it after the show, and it's actually like you said, it's almost the show is more tame than the comic book. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I didn't read the whole run. I only read a little bit of it, and
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, I've seen all the entire catalog of the show, you know. So I'm caught up. I just finished the other day. I finished the latest episode, the episode 7, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think the consensus amongst most fans is that the show is superior to the book, because
Okay.
it's, you know, because the book isn't, well, or the book is very just exploitive, and it feels like it's more of like an angry read rather than just something with substance. You know,
Right.
the show
Right.
has kind of some type of soul to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A heart.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Well, no, I would say yes. I would say I would agree with that. You know, I would say as the season have gone on, it's kind of lost a little bit of its nuance. It's a little more on the nose about like what it's trying to like quote unquote say, you know what I mean? And so,
Yeah.
you know, especially this last season, it seems a little like ham-fisted, you know, but you know, I'm still watching it. I don't hate the show. It's not whatever. I'm not like offended by the show or whatever, um but I would say that it doesn't have the same like nuance and that the first season had, right? And then the second season it started like kind of losing it a little bit, and now it just seems like it's like, you know, it just seems like right in my face what they're trying to say and what they're trying to do with all that. And again, not to the point where I'm not going to watch it, but you know, if we're comparing this season to like how it started, it seemed like that soul that you're talking about was more evident in the first season. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the deal with this fourth season, I think, since they're at a point where it's very timely because they're going through the kind of like election phase of the show, you know,
Yeah.
and obviously this is that year for us.
Right.
And you know, there have always been like what you said earlier, there have always been very clear allegories for real life that have been depicted through this show, you know, using superheroes and the interest of us in our interest in superheroes in movies and toys and all that from right now in the show, you know. You know, it's always been a satire, even from the first book. So the complaints that this season has been getting of being dare I say woke or obvious, which I do think it is obvious, by the way. I do think it is very obvious. They don't bother me the way it bothers other people. Because I feel the show has always kind of been like that, you know, especially when looking at these characters. Homelander is obviously a critique on Superman. A-Train is a critique on not only like the Flash, but African American superheroes and how they can be either empowering or tokenized, right?
Right.
And you know, the Deep, I mean, the Deep is a whole, you know, commentary on someone like Harvey Weinstein or people who would use their powers and stuff. So I feel like it is as obvious as it's always been. I'm not sure anything has really changed.
Okay. Yeah, I think it is, and so I'll let's get into it, you know, and
let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah. And it's not, again, I if you're watching The Boys, you're watching it because of the satire of it. Like you can't go into it being like, what, this is saying something that mirrors reality. What the heck? And like no, obviously, like that's from the first show. I just think they did a little bit. They were a little bit more clever about it, and so for an example, you know, so like the essay in it, right? So the essay in the first seasons, when Starlight gets essayed by the Deep, I think that was done a little bit more intricate, and like in this last season, again, spoilers, but like in this last season, it just seems more of like, I don't know if it's because it's a man, so it's okay, but it just seemed more like a joke. You know what I mean? Versus like when they show essay.
I see. Yeah.
So the essay that they do with Huey and you know, he's Webweaver and
with Huey, dude. I thought you were talking about with the Deep and H.
Oh no! I was talking about like in this last like couple
with
episodes
Huey.
where with Huey, he's trying to infiltrate Tech Knight or whatever, which is like the adjacent of Batman. And then they go to like what would be the equivalent of the Batcave, and it's like this like sex dungeon. You know what I mean? So to me it just seems like, and again, I'm not offended by it. Like I didn't watch it and I wasn't like, oh my goodness, you know, how dare they make this a joke? Like I personally wasn't offended by it. I watch it thinking like they're gonna go for shock value. That's why I'm watching The Boys in the first place. And so I'm not personally offended by it. I just think that like if we compare SA from the first season, it was done it was taken a little more seriously versus like now SA in this season is like more of a gaff. It's more of like a laugh, you know what I mean? Like a joke. And like the scene
I
was
could see that.
a little bit funnier than it was when, like, you know, when Starlight's getting that like casting
Yeah.
couch type of situation, you're kind of like, whoa, dude. And here in this one, you're just like, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like it's just a little
Yeah.
bit, it's a little bit different. And I don't mean to say
Yeah.
that's wrong or right. I just think it's just taking a little bit differently. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Especially
Mm,
in the moment. In the moment of that scene, specifically where Huey's dressed up as Web Weaver and Tech
mm,
Knight's doing all this crazy stuff, and then Ashley gets in on it. I felt really creeped. I was laughing, but I was laughing and like I can't believe they're doing this, and I'm getting and
yeah,
it's all processing. Like,
yeah,
not only is this a Batman parody, it's a Spider-Man parody. Oh, they're dealing with SA, they're dealing with this. Holy shit. And then the safe word reveal only makes it like tops it off as like, I mean, that was hilarious, but what makes it more impactful, which I actually really appreciated, was later on in that episode where you see Huey break down,
oh,
about it,
true,
and he's like
yeah,
I'm not okay. Why did I do this? I'm mourning my father and everything. Um it's crazy. It was kind of almost like that scene with the Gimp in Pulp Fiction.
mm, mm,
Not just because it's the same type of setting, but in terms of how they approached it,
right, right, right,
tonally. Um,
yeah,
yeah, they've always had a bizarre relationship with violence and how to depict it, uh,
yeah,
in the show, because
it's
sometimes it's
true.
really funny, other times it's really disturbing. This episode ran the gamut of that.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, if you know, like you're saying, like, you know, people are saying it's woke and this and that. I mean, the show's always going to be saying something, especially when it comes to like socio-political issues and like you said, the
Yeah,
commentary on superheroes in general. I think it's always going to do that, and you got to expect that. That's one thing. That my mistake, what I did as almost like as a mistake, I think, is I started looking at interviews from the showrunners and like the creators. And
yeah.
so again, I'm watching the show, I press play and then the credits roll and I'm good. I'm good. So like what I'm watching, I'm good. But then when I watch like the interviews with the showrunners and the creators, I get kind of like annoyed and it bothers me a little bit because it just seems like they're openly admitting that it's woke and that they're trying to say that specific perspective. And again, that's not my opinion. It's just the words from the showrunner. So then I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't think so. And I don't really, I have always felt that the boys is going to be like, quote unquote, saying something, you know what I mean? So I don't really care. But if someone, like, let's say there's someone that is offended by it or is saying like, man, this show is woke, man, why is this show woke? And then you go, like, someone says, no, this show's not woke. But then you look at the creators are literally saying like, hey, I have a perspective and I'm going to interject it in my show, so if you don't like it, don't watch it.
I do want to say that regarding the boys and that kind of conversation between these fans who are upset and the creators for what they're saying, I don't think that these complaints of it being woke or not, I don't
Mm,
think they are. I don't really consider that legitimate criticism either. I don't think that the show has lost it in terms of its writing. I think it's as good as it's been before, especially the later seasons. Like season 3 had a real crazy build up, had really interesting characters, especially that last episode of season 3 where everyone was coming together against Soldier Boy. I feel like they're on that same path and it's at the same quality. Sure, it's not a perfect show by
mm,
any means.
mm,
There are some storylines, and we'll talk about it. There's some storylines that I'm not really too crazy about. I'm hoping they pay off in the last episode tonight. But what
mm.
I'll say is that to call this woke and just dismiss it like that, I feel like it's like calling Barbie woke. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
Barbie, just like the boys, funny enough, kind of wears it on its sleeve in that it's about that. It's
Yeah.
not only satirical, but it has something to say about these things.
Right. Right.
These characters aren't just like in the comic book. In the comic book, they're just jokes. Like, look at the Soldier Boy from the comic book. It is just a straight up F you to Captain America.
Of course.
Of
course.
And the whole idea of that, whereas in
Yeah.
here they make these characters very nuanced, I think, especially someone like Soldier Boy, Butcher, especially this season, has been really, the number one example of that, and I can't wait to talk about this dude, is A-Train.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's making that movie.
Crazy. Yeah, I know. I mean, it's crazy. Like these characters, I feel like this show has elevated the source material, and because now it's talking about things and people who happen to also like the show beforehand, because it was talking about corporations and things they didn't like. Now that it's talking about them, I think that's more where it's coming from than actually talking about the quality of the show, because I don't think it's diminished heavily at all.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like a heavy. If you ask me what season I like the best, it's probably like the first two seasons. The third one is good,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't hate this season either. And it's not like a noticeable drop where I'm like, this show now sucks. Like, no. Like, if you ask me to rank the seasons,
and that's that.
Yeah, and that's that. You know what I mean? So like, if you ask me personally to rank the seasons, I'll probably rank the fourth one as the lowest, but that doesn't mean it's the worst. Not even like it's the worst show at all. I still like it. I'm entertained. I'm watching it. I've watched every episode. The one thing I would say, like, if we were talking about storylines, the whole virus thing, I kind of wanted that to propel itself a little bit more in this season, and they haven't really until this last episode, right? Like the last
I hope so.
2 episodes.
I hope so.
They've kind of started talking about the virus that like kills the soups and stuff like that. So, but if we're talking about the whole season, they haven't really expanded that from like the Gen 5 show. You know what I mean? Where they really talk about that. And I thought that was gonna be a little bit more prominent in this season, and it hasn't been, only in the last like 2, maybe 3 episodes. You know what I mean? So,
and hopefully tonight.
But again, that doesn't mean like you said, it's not a noticeable drop where you're like, oh my god, this went from like you know what's a good example? House of Dragon. So House of Dragon, the first season was like whatever. Like the first season I thought was whatever. You know, that's how I would describe it. This season is noticeably fire. It is so good. There's just a gap between there. And so that's where I would agree with you, where I don't think there's like this really noticeable gap between the quality of, like, you know, the first season, which is probably my favorite, first or second season, probably my favorite, and then the third and fourth. Sure, I would say they're better. If you have a gun to my head, hey, which one is better? Then I'd probably say, well, I think the first or the second. Leave me alone, don't shoot. But like, does that mean I don't like the fourth or the third season? Like, no, I still like it. I'm still watching. I'm still into it.
Yeah.
And then imagine going into a show like this, and then, you know, being shocked or pissed that the show is saying something. Like, I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know. That is kind of absurd. I think the mistake is when you don't just watch the show, press play, see what's on in front of you, and then judge that.
But if you crush the masses, who builds your monuments? Who tongues your taint?
Regarding The Boys, obviously this past season has dealt with kind of the escalation of the country, the turmoil of how people look at soups and how the soups kind of use people in terms of getting their glory, feeding their egos, and actually getting into positions of government. This is obviously very much like an election kind of year, and Homelander is using that to fulfill the hole in his heart since he's going through a midlife crisis. And now,
Right.
Daniel, how do you feel about kind of where this season is headed? Because season 5 is going to be the end of it, and we all know the ending of the comic book. But how do you feel about the kind of the stepping stones that they're setting up here?
Well, I think I like it. I don't have an issue with it. I think obviously it leans one way because Homelander is one way. So he's a very American, he literally has the flag as his cape, and
Yeah.
so and like we were talking about earlier, the directors, they have their own ideologies and their own views on things, and that's fine. I don't mind that. I think the stepping stones now, especially the stepping stones leading up to this next episode, like you said, it's dealing a lot with the election and all this stuff. It's you know, I I I don't know if it's not doing a good job about this, but I just think that very typical of, like, very very much a mirror to our reality. It's like the arguments and the stepping stones that you're saying, they're not um they're not consistent. And what I mean by that is, like, sure, I had a homie the other day tell me that, oh, Trump is very Homelander, and I'm like, okay. This is where I mean, like, the whole, like, it's not consistent because it's not like they have a superhero that, like, take poops himself while he's in the speeches, and he's so old he can't even form a sentence. There's no superhero equivalent to a Biden, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not offended by that. I just get offended by, not offended. I get more upset when people just aren't consistent in general.
I feel like, especially lately in this
Yeah.
political season, I think, especially after the first debate, a lot of people, I think a lot of people realize that a lot of people don't pay attention to politics in a way that is
Right.
very that is needed. You know what I mean?
Right.
People latch on to headlines, reels, and in some cases, shows like The Boys. Shows that deal with politics and reference politics. I do believe that Trump or Homelander is a Trump parable, for sure, especially since the people who make the show have been very open about where they're coming from.
It just is.
There are too many parallels, especially
Yeah.
with how the last season ended, where,
Of course.
we see him, laser that dude. It's a straight up reference to Trump saying that he could shoot a guy in the middle of the street and not lose any voters. And it's now, especially, that is, I feel, pretty true. I think that is one and one. And I think that this show, the reason why it is as captivating as it is, and, even despite what you and I think about what the people making it say about it, the fact of the matter is we're invested in it. I am so curious and excited about where tonight's episode is going to leave us, and how season 5 is going to end. And in terms of kind of the ignorance you're talking about, and the hypocrisy and everything, I agree with that. I think that's everywhere, especially in politics, because people are flawed, and politicians are even more so flawed, and this show actually does what you're talking about, and they're examining how, celebrities in general are turned into not only idols, but heroes. And now that's getting to their heads to where they want to become gods. The scene that I found the most fascinating was where they bring in the Tucker Carlson guy into the Sevens meeting, and they I forget his name, Kirk Cameron or something. don't remember his
Cameron
name.
Coleman or something.
Cameron Coleman.
Yeah.
Let's just call him Tucker Carlson. And it's where Homelander says, "Show me a little wrath," and they kill him. They kill him because they think he's the leak, and it's very telling of where they're headed. They are going to go after the government, and
Right.
I mean, again, it's on the nose. This thing, they're naming January 6th. They're saying this is when these things are going to happen. So,
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Daniel, about how, what people are saying, it doesn't line up because a lot of people just aren't as invested as you might be in some ways, or I might be in other ways.
Don't worry. If there's hell below. Oh, hell.
Who wants their balls crushed?
I can watch the show and I'm like, oh, this is satire. I don't get my political news from The Boys. You know what I mean? Like The Boys doesn't inform my like political, like, oh, okay, now I hate Trump because it's a parallel to Homelander. So Homelander's a bad guy. I hate Trump. Like, no, that's not, I can see the parallels, but I don't hate Trump because he's a parallel to Homelander, if that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? Like I can just watch it and go, oh, that's a parallel. Yeah. But I don't go, oh, now I will not vote for Trump because The Boys says that he's like Homelander. So like that's not how I watch the show. It just makes me upset because I know a lot of people do watch it that way. And so that's what makes me upset. Like, and we're talking about the hypocrisy, Trump, they attempted on his life. And it's so funny because I've been called a conspiracy theorist because I think there's funny business, and I won't necessarily go too far into a conspiracy theory, but or a quote unquote conspiracy theory, but I will ask questions and I about certain topics. You should, and then people will,
especially with that situation.
Right. And people will call me a conspiracy theorist, but now those same people that have called me a conspiracy theorist for years, just for being like, hey, I think there's kind of funny business with this topic, that topic, whatever. Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Why are you wearing a tinfoil hat? And now conveniently with this thing, they're like, oh, this is definitely a false flag.
The show does deal with that what we're currently dealing with in real life, everything you just said about the political discourse and how extremism on both sides, and how now it is about taking sides. I think politics has always been like that, sides, because it's always been in some ways a high stakes game, especially in our country, election cycles. It's all about campaigning, it's all about making these promises and everything. And I love that the show shows that the masses are susceptible to that, especially when celebrity figures become involved. There's obviously that really, I thought it was fucking hilarious scene in one of the seasons where the Deep did Gal Gadot. Imagine. I thought that was perfect. Obviously, Homelander is a big figure who goes around preaching the whole, the woke mob, and they're trying to do this. Firecracker is one of those characters in this current season who is very much invested in what would be considered the alt-right in our world. And Starlight is obviously very much progressive and on the left. And I love that they show those sides and those ideologies clashing in this, because ultimately it leads to catastrophe. We saw that in our real world on January 6th. They're not getting these dates and these comparisons from nowhere. They're coming from real life. It's not even just the comic book they're getting these things from. They're getting them from our real world, how we talk to each other, how we deal with politics, and how something as conceptual as politics affects our physical world.
Right.
I love that angle of the show. And I'm really curious how it's going to do it
It's almost all about that. It's almost all about that.
Yeah, it is all about that.
The superheroes could just attack all the humans, but they understand that it's more about like playing the image. So it's always like they're trying to screw each other over by like exposing each other, like, oh, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that. And so, you know, we get more battles, like quote unquote battles like that, rather than like superhero fights. Do you know what I mean? Like
it's
so
weird to see a superhero fight in the show. Like when they did it in the last episode, it was a little odd. Like, oh, wait a minute, this show has not been that for so much of it, you know?
It's almost like they do fight with the control of the mob rather than their superpowers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they're using identity politics throughout the whole show.
Politics,
you know,
it's all that.
Like that's what it's always been, and you know they're using media. It reminds me, you know, I know it's based off of Garth Ennis's book, but a lot of it reminds me of Frank Miller in the way that he would depict media. You know, in something like The Dark Knight Returns, or how Paul Verhoeven would do it in RoboCop. You know,
or Starship Troopers,
or Starship Troopers. Exactly. Media in this film, which is very much akin to real life, is depicted as a tool for corporation. And these suits are just that. They are products from the corporate world to get more money from the consumer, you know? It's about everything, the show. It's not just about politics, it's about capitalism, it's about socioeconomic issues. It's about social issues, you know, and how people can profit from it. And this season especially is laying it on thick.
No, that's the thing where I can see the complaints. I don't know if I agree with them, like, but I can see the complaints where people are saying like, oh, this is just like in my face. And I think that's more prominent because of like what you're saying, where it's just starting to mirror our real life a little bit more. I mean, even to the point where now the episodes have this disclaimer that even the episodes earlier in this season didn't have this disclaimer to the start of the show. Have you seen that disclaimer? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
The earlier episodes of this season didn't even have that. It's like the later episodes started having a disclaimer where they're like, remember, this is fiction. This is not,
I mean, to be honest, they kind of have to now. Because I think too many people have been idolizing certain characters in the show, and they are not differentiating the fact, you know, fiction from reality. Like Homelander, especially for people on the right, and I'm gonna say on the right, has been like for some, I'm not gonna say all, but for some people who are very prominent on YouTube also, have like idolized the dude because making the alpha reels and shit. Like I saw this one, I'm not gonna name her because I don't want any beef, but there's this one conservative figure on YouTube who was like, she was complaining about how Homelander was being depicted in the show, and she's saying because and now he's like a bad guy when before they were making him look great. And I'm like, what? What? Yeah, exactly. What do you mean great, dude? Like, honestly, he's so great. He's so awesome. You know, you know, that scene where he let a plane filled with people like just crash.
Yeah,
so cool.
Season.
Alpha.
So dope. He's so alpha.
So alpha, dude. No, this is what happens, Daniel, when you get 4 seasons of Homelander and no Superman movie.
This is what happens. You don't get not a counter to it, but like, we all know what you and me, we grew up with Superman, like reading the books, watching the movies, watching the shows, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm trying to say. We can watch Homelander and like laugh and be like, oh, and understand that it's just within the confines of the show. Sure, it has parallels to reality, but we're not going to make political decisions based on what we see in The Boys. Like that's
idolize murderers.
Like I don't think so. Not even Eccles' character. Not even that. Not even I don't
Oh,
idolize
Soldier
any.
Boy, yeah.
Yeah, Soldier Boy. These fools are fictional. They're fictional characters, man. And
Yeah,
it's I think that's where, like people are just deranged now. I think they're literally
go
deranged. Like
crazy.
I let's say me and you are running against each other, and you're purple and I'm green, and so then I want not only my followers, but I want your followers to see us debate, and I want them to make their own decision based on our debate, because I'm not scared of my views going to battle with your views. But I feel like on the left and on the right, people that are extreme like that are people that are fearful of that debate. They don't want to have discourse. They don't want to. So rather than have discourse, they'll insult each other, or they'll call for the death of the other guy.
They have a moment like that in this season where
Right.
Firecracker has a rally in front
That's
of
right.
Starlight's base, and she's saying all this crazy shit about how Starlight not only is sinful because she had an abortion, but because she also like houses kids. Like they're going the whole like Pizzagate
Right.
way of it.
Right.
And
Right.
she's baiting her. She's baiting her, and
And she
Starlight
falls for it. And she falls for it.
And what's crazy about that is that she's like, it's weird because she's admitting Firecracker is right, but
Yeah.
she's not right. She's just
Right.
letting it get to her.
Right.
You know?
Right.
It's
right,
crazy.
Right.
It's
right,
insane. Like
right.
she's right that
Right.
Starlight did have an abortion.
Yeah.
But she's not about all this other crazy, conspiracy shit. Like
Right.
that's what the season is about. It's about how everybody is heated. Everybody lets it get to them personally. And I understand why. It feels weird now to watch The Boys a little bit. The whole idea of these guys working up a way to assassinate Homeland, like kill Homelander now, especially after what happened on Saturday. It's very weird. And since Homelander is very much Trump, I will say that I think it's just too, like, I think it's just there.
Yeah.
There's kind of a weird eeriness to it. And I'm very curious when they get to that point where Homelander does die, whether it be in this season or, which I doubt, but in the next season, I really wonder how that's going to feel.
Your team.
What's your code name again?
The Boys. Oof. Who came up with that shit?
So, Daniel, regarding this season, because we've talked a lot about the politics of the season and everything, and I think we both can at least appreciate that they're taking that risk, of going in that direction of saying what they have to say. So many superhero, whether you want to call them films, TV shows, or products, even as this show would have reframed them, a lot of them just come out and they don't have as much to say as The Boys does. But was there a moment in this season where you saw they were satirizing real life that it stood out to you the most, good or bad?
Not in a bad way, but there was obviously the when they're waiting for, I don't know if it was, I think it was before they're waiting for the verdict, or maybe while they're waiting for the verdict, but where the Starlighters and the Homelander guys, they literally, and Sage uses that as an opportunity to incite a riot. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and that I think that was mine also, especially when Homelander comes out and he says, "Stop, you're all beautiful."
Yeah, stop. Yeah, that part was like, I was like, oh my God, you guys are really putting. But again, that it doesn't I look at it like how you said, like, oh, this is trying to mirror real life, but again, it's a satire on real life. Like it's not real life. Like that wasn't actual footage of an actual riot. You know what I mean? Like that was it's a show, and they're just trying to make fun of how easy it is to incite a riot with these mobs. You know what I mean?
And it was a smart plan.
It was a smart
on Sister
plan.
Sage's part.
Yeah, it was smart. It was smart. So, I don't know. I don't know. Again, like that doesn't offend me. I do find it weird that people do get offended or derive like actual thoughts on real life based on a fictional incident. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they almost get offended as if it happened in real life. Like they'll look at that and be like, God dang it, yeah, those woke assholes. You know what I mean? And it's like, wait,
Those
what?
starlighters.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
just the show, guys. Like what the hell?
Yeah.
But
Well,
that was
yeah,
probably the
absolutely.
most like the most like blatant, like, hey, here, here's blue, here's yellow, and here how easy that they can fight each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. That was
Mm.
where it was, this is okay, so this is that season, that season where they felt like it was time to say something
Yeah.
as plain as day as they could. And the show's always had scenes like that, episodes like that, and I've always appreciated it. I mean, one of my favorite examples of this, and it's not really political, it's not political actually, it's where, and I think it's in the first season, they have what's her name, Sitwell, is that the by Elizabeth Shue's character, and she's talking
Oh,
about the next phase of the VCU, and it shows the big board of all the projects and everything, like,
dude, that was
come on.
hilarious. They
And
had
then
that
this
in this
season,
season too. They had that in this season too. They had that in this season too, where like Deep comes out, or I forgot who comes out. Someone else comes out.
it was
Tech,
Tech Night,
Tech,
I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tech Knight comes out, and it's like covered. It's just like so many projects. That had me laughing. I was laughing at that part for sure. I was
That
like,
was
oh
great.
my God, this is Hall H right here.
Oh my God. And like you
Yeah.
see all the different logos, like things are like, it's so weird just looking at it, because there's the ones for adults, the movies for adults, and then they're the really small kid ones and everything.
Right.
You know,
No, that was hilarious. But
that
yeah,
was great.
yeah, that mirrors real life, especially if you've been to Hall H. It's very much like that. So
Yeah. I absolutely love the these new characters they've introduced, characters like Firecracker and Sister Sage. Like Sister Sage is one of my favorite characters in the show now.
yeah.
Is there a character that, like, either one of the new ones that you really responded to, or one of the ones that has been around but has kind of stepped up a bit, that you just really like?
Well, I've always liked Butcher.
Yeah.
Butcher's always been cool to me. I kind of, again, like we're all flawed and stuff like that, but I didn't really, when I was younger, I hung out with like not the best crowd, so like I understand like the point of view of, like, let's say someone like Frenchie, right, or the Butcher. I
Yeah.
kind of relate to that like flawed kind of sense of their character, where they look at their past and they're like, man, I'm not really too proud of that. And
Yeah.
so I think I like those characters a lot, like Frenchie and the Butcher. I like Kimiko. I like Kimiko a lot.
Yeah, she's
I
really
think
cool.
Yeah, I think she's cool. I just want her to talk. Like,
I
just
know.
talk.
When's it gonna happen?
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for it, but
Yeah.
it'll happen. But I like those characters a lot. I do like Sister Sage. I think she's really smart, and I like how, it's funny because when I was watching one of the episodes, and when they're tailing her, remember they're tailing her, and
Yeah.
they
Oh yeah.
they they label her as the smartest person on the planet, right? And
Mhm.
so when they're tailing her, the whole time I was like, dude, this is like this either is a setup, or like they're not really playing her as like the smartest person on the planet. So like she
Yeah.
has to know, or this has to be a setup. And then it was a setup, and I was like,
She
oh,
for
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
I get it. get
I,
it, you know?
dude, I was totally thinking this is set up. She's in her
Yeah.
costume when they're following her,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like she's
That
too smart
she's too
for
smart.
everybody to deal with,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. I mean, she's playing everybody. And that's why
Hmm.
even when like people piss her off, I'm even thinking like, you guys got to be careful. Like, you got to be careful because
Yeah.
the second you get on her bad side, she's just now like quantifying and planning like where you fit in her game plan. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
yeah, dude.
it
Yeah,
mhm,
absolutely.
yeah. So it's
Oh,
best to stay
I'm
out of
sorry.
her way.
No, it is. I was
Yeah.
definitely thinking that in this last episode
Mhm.
or the tonight's
Yeah.
the very end when she gets fired is like
Yeah.
I'm thinking all sorts of things about
Yeah.
that. The first is
Yeah.
why is Homelander did the dumbest thing he could have.
Dumbest.
But
Yeah.
and then I start thinking I don't know if I think her whatever it is Sage is planning will eventually be at Homelander's detriment.
Yes. Yes.
You know,
Yes.
or maybe
Yes.
this was her plan the whole time to be fired in this way, right? Like
Right. Right.
that's how crazy this character is. She got all the angles worked out.
Yeah, and you can kind of even tell when she's talking to Newman, right? When she's talking to Newman at Tech Knight's house. Remember they have that conversation
Yeah.
before she gets lobotomized, and she's like telling her like, "Hey, like I know what it's like to be a girl that nobody listens to. You know what I mean? To be this like young kid that nobody listens to." So then I started thinking like, has she been playing everybody this whole time? Like, is
Yeah.
she gonna, maybe not have a victory so much for like the good guys, but definitely have an outcome planned where it kind of hurts Homelander. I thought the same thing.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
man, she might be, playing both sides, but in some ways just benefits herself, but like it kind of hurts Homelander by default. You know what I mean? Like by collateral
Yeah.
damage.
Yeah. I mean, that was I mean that to have a character like that to where you have no idea, you know exactly where they're coming from, but not where they're going is
Yes.
so amazing, you know?
It's great.
Um,
Yeah, it's great.
yeah, I love her. I love her so
I love
much.
it too.
And
Yeah.
she's really formidable to
She
everybody, you
is.
know?
She is, yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
The way she's playing the deep and everything like that. Yeah, I mean,
The Deep and Black Noir.
yeah, I mean, they're a little bit dumber, so they're easier to play. Like Firecracker's
Yeah.
easier to play. I mean, she even straight up tells her, like, I can play you, and then does. And
Mhm.
then like she does, like Firecracker doesn't understand, is just so, too dumb.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do like Sage. She's just not on the good guy's side right now. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
I do I like Frenchie. I like Kimiko a lot. That's probably like one of the characters I like. But
Yeah.
Butcher's the one I like a lot. And again, spoilers, but the whole time where Kessler was like
Oh
turns
yeah.
out to be fake, I was like, oh my goodness, no way. I thought
Yeah.
that was sick. I thought that was really cool.
That was really good. That was really
That was
good.
good.
You know what's really funny about that casting is you could totally see or at least I could totally see Jeffrey Dean Morgan play Butcher, you know?
Yeah.
Um I could totally see that if he were
Yeah.
if he were the one cast in the role.
Right.
He would just need to I'm glad Urban was cast because he's perfect in the role.
Perfect.
But
Yeah.
I was thinking about that earlier today, how even though Carl Urban is one of these guys who, in my opinion, is highly underrated and was kind of born for the Butcher part, to thinking
Yeah.
about other actors to play it is also pretty fun because you remember in Diabolical, that little short animated series they had.
That was
Um,
great.
they
Fantastic.
it was great, and they had a
Mhm.
episode where it was set in the comic universe,
Mhm.
and they had Jason Isaacs play the role of Butcher, the
Oh,
comic version of Butcher. You know,
that's right.
um,
That's right.
it's crazy. It's crazy seeing all those interpretations of the character.
It is cool. Yeah. Urban's so sick. I want to see a Dread 2, man. I want to see a Dread
Oh
2 so
man,
bad. And he did
yeah.
such a good job as Dread. I thought, man, this is crazy. It's almost
Who
like
wins, Dredd or Butcher?
who wins?
Who wins, Dredd or Butcher?
Dredd, come on. Dredd wins. Dredd wins easily. Well,
Does
actually, I
Dredd
don't
have
know
this?
because Butcher seems to have a power that only kicks in when he's about to die.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? Like he was about to die with remember he was about to die with when the stretch guy was killing him, and then he explodes, he like tears him
Oh
up.
yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, it's got to be the tumor, right? Like the thing
tumor,
inside
yeah.
him.
Well, no, but he also took some of the V. He
V.
took some of the, yeah. So, but he thought that he never got any powers from it.
Yeah. Oh,
But
so
maybe
you're saying I see. I see. So he has like a hidden power.
that's what I'm saying. Like maybe he just doesn't know what his power is, and his power only comes out when he's about to die. Maybe, you know what I mean?
Oh, say I hope they bring that up in the episode tonight. Because
Yeah.
I actually kind of forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I really love that Butcher is finally being a little bit more there's a lot more heart with him in this season. Like they're really pushing it. I mean, you see it with the whole Becca and Kessler dynamic where, and they bring up the virus. And in the comic book, he's just he doesn't have that whole
No, he
dilemma
doesn't.
of
He
whether
doesn't.
he should do it or not.
Yeah.
Here he actually questions it and is fighting against it, fighting against
Yeah.
that that feeling of doing genocide to the soups, which I really like. I loved that moment in the last episode where he's watching Ryan on the TV and he's like, "I'm proud of him,"
Yeah. Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
fantastic.
That was fantastic. And also, again, like he's arguing with himself, but with another persona where
Yeah,
it's Becca and Kessler, and he's like, and then they show that for the first time they show that point of view from Samir, right? And he sees that
yeah,
he's talking to
yeah,
nobody. And then I was
yeah,
like, wait. I was like, oh no, what? He's fake too. He's also fake too. I was like,
yeah.
oh my God. And so then, but then Kessler tells him, he's like, yeah, so you arguing with me is the proof that you kind of are debating maybe you want to do this.
Hmm.
Maybe you do want to
Hmm.
do this. He's like, so why not just give in? Just do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And he's like, he like fights it, and he stops talking to him. Remember?
yeah,
He stops acknowledging him.
yeah.
So that
So good.
I agree. I think it just adds a layer of depth that Urban is having a lot of fun with, and you can tell
Yeah,
he's really having a lot of fun with it, and the winners are us, the viewers, I think. So,
yeah, dude. One thing that this series has over the comic book, in my opinion, is that underlying all the horror and all the depravity of the show is hope ultimately. And I love that in this season they're using Ryan as that. Because Ryan is obviously impressionable and he has pretty dark moments in the season, but it's more nuanced than what I thought it was going to be. Because at the end of season 3, I'm like, oh Jesus, now it's a new Homelander. But no, dude, like he's keeping his morality in check, like he's standing up for himself, and I really appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
just love that.
and no, I 1000% agree. I was even thinking that watching this because again, I mean, I feel a certain type of way of powers. I feel like if I was a Superman or if I was a Homelander, there'd be peace on Earth pretty quickly. But it's cool when they have that one scene where he makes the assistant slap the director guy,
Oh
and I
yeah,
was cheering. I was like, dude, that's right.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
right. Yeah, I was like, that's right.
I've been
Slap
getting in
him.
there.
Slap the dude. And then he just sipping it, watching, and I was like, that is awesome. I think I would do the same.
Milkshake, milkshake.
Yeah. Milkshake. Yeah, I love that scene. But again, like you're saying, it shows the depth of going from that to like the end of the other episode, this last episode where he he doesn't go through with the Christmas special or whatever special they're doing, the puppet special.
The just blatant. If you see something, say something.
Yeah, like I thought that was funny. I thought it was hilarious.
It was fun. It was funny that it started with A Train, and then by the end of the episode, they're like, just put Homelander in there.
Yeah. No, and the puppeteers start walking away.
I know, dude. Like, oh god, dude, that was the smartest thing they could have done. Because if Homelander showed up right then and there, dude,
they all die. I think that's why they
dead.
started moving away. And also this kid too. They kind of are scared of the kid too, right?
Oh yeah, dude. I was scared. I would have been terrified in that situation because he's like, stop everything. But I really love that moment where it felt like Ryan, and maybe this is a stretch because he has had pretty dark moments, but at the same time, he is a kid. And he feels like he is the closest thing to this universe's Superman in a way.
Right.
Or at least he's set up to become that. And I love that difference is there between him and Homelander because Ryan had a mom and Homelander didn't have that, which is why episode 4 is my favorite episode of the season. It's where they get into Homelander's past in the lab and everything.
That was
crazy, right?
Yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
Ryan has the best chance to become a real hero in this world. I love that.
And they mentioned that when Homelander goes back to his past, the lady Barbara literally says that. She says you could have escaped 100 times, you could escape at any time, but you took the pain, you stayed here because your willingness to your hope to not disappoint was so crazy that it literally brought in psychologists from all over the world to study it, because they were like, how does this kid that could kill everyone here, why does he keep going through this torture basically just to not let his oppressors down? So, like you said, Ryan had a mom. Homelander didn't. He was born and killed his mom and lasered himself out of her stomach, and while still being attached by the umbilical cord. Is crazy. And Ryan didn't have that. Ryan had the love of a mom, right? And he had the love of a father, where you can even see where he's trying to console Butcher like a Superman would, right? Like a Clark Kent would. No, you deserve to be a dad. What are you talking about?
He mentions Billy in his speech about how my mom loved Butcher and everything. He has empathy.
He does. Yeah. So I agree. I think I'm hoping that we get that Superman moment, from him, but we'll see.
Dude. When he's making that speech, it just naturally came into my head some of the music from Man of Steel, which isn't my favorite Superman movie, but it does. I mean, the soundtrack is incredible, and it has that essence of hope, and I'm really hoping that, because Ryan is already standing up to himself in the show. If it comes down to him having to take on his dad, I don't know if he's going to win, but I hope he puts up a good enough fight to where he's not trying to kill his dad, but he's trying to defend, say, Butcher or something, right? That would be pretty phenomenal, because Daniel, throughout this whole show, I've really wanted Superman to show up. To
we all do.
Smack him around, dude.
Yeah, we all do. And what could happen is we could get a kind of a replica scene that we got in at the end of the first season of Invincible, right? Where we had him versus his what is it? Volturian?
Invincible versus Omni-Man.
Omni-Man, yeah. At the end, and he's not winning, but he almost wins by losing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's crazy. What if we get a moment like that? I don't know. I think a lot of these moments, we could get moments like that. I don't know if it would be as impactful, but as the Invincible show, but we could get a moment like that, like you're saying, where he's not really beating Homelander, but he puts up a good fight. And for me, when Ryan was giving that speech, I also got Superman vibes. I don't know if you saw Superman versus the Five.
Oh
The
yeah,
the anime,
what, the Elite, right?
the elite, yes, yes,
Yeah, yeah,
the elite.
yeah.
And he
Really,
gives
really
Superman.
underrated.
It's
Really
so
underrated. Yeah,
so underrated because I think it doesn't have like this very prominent name to it. That a lot of
yeah,
people are like, like Superman versus Doomsday or something like that. Like it
yeah,
doesn't have this very prominent thing. It's like Superman versus the Elite. So I think people don't watch it, but
yeah,
that is so good. That animated movie is so freaking good. And Superman gives a speech there. He gives a speech to that one British hero who's very much
yeah.
like Homelander. He's very much like Homelander,
Hmm.
that British hero. And Superman's giving him the speech about hope. It gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. Every time I watch that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
we need Superman, dude. We
yeah,
need
we
him.
do. We do.
You know.
We always do though. We do, like, our real life, the heroes in the cartoons need them, the people in comic books need them. Superman is the quintessential, he's the standard of the superhero, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean there's this great piece of art I saw where it was like Superman, it was the Kingdom Come Superman, and he's
Oh, okay.
holding like Homelander, and he's holding, I think, the kid from Brightburn, and he's like saying, "I'm disappointed" or something. But
Whoa.
because he really is that echelon, he is that
Yeah,
standard, like you said, he
yeah,
is the one. It's the one that
yeah.
all these characters are derivatives of, like
Right.
Homelander and Omni-Man, and honestly, dude, I think the uh, the boys isn't the reason we're more cynical as a society. It's a commentary on that. But I think the fact that we are more cynical is because of the absence of the lessons of a character like Superman, in my opinion. You
I
know,
agree.
and I think the reason, well, I think people are missing that point. The fact that there is a Homelander shows that there should be a Superman,
Right, right. Yes,
you know?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. That's why I'm excited for this gun Superman. Like, come on, man. I hope he pulls
yeah,
it off good. I'm liking the
yeah,
look. I
yeah.
don't know if I like the look of the other heroes, but I like Superman's look, and I really hope it's a good Superman because, like you said, we're in need of a
Of
like
a figure
like
like that,
yeah, like Christopher
Yeah,
Reeves type. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that kind of hero. We need that, man. We need that. You know.
yeah, yeah.
And so, I've always said that superheroes are modern myths, like comic books superheroes. Yeah, let's
This guy
go.
right here.
Yes. There are modern myths, man. These are our Aesop fables. These are our Don Quixotes. These are like where we get our
Yeah,
Hercules, we get our lessons from these mythical beings. So,
yeah.
and we're in
They
need of a
mean something.
Superman. Yeah, we're in need for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking about the characters that have developed incredibly, uh, I, for me, the standout, and for a lot of people, and I'm sure for you, the standout of the season has got to be A-Train. Like,
Yeah.
dude,
Yeah.
um, I hated that character for a while. He was like next to the deep for me, in terms
Yeah.
of just unlikability. Just he was kind of despicable in many ways, Um, eh, like there was so much I really didn't like about the character. But they've slowly been building him to the point of redemption, not full redemption, but enough at least. And for me, a scene that really stood out with him, I mean, obviously there's the scene from last episode where he fights the deep, and he fights the Black Noir and everything. And then there's the one from before where he saves Mother's Milk. But the one
Yeah.
that I really loved was when he made peace with Huey, you know?
Oh yeah, that was sick. That was sick.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was
yeah.
cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that
What do
too.
you think of A Train in the show?
I I after watching the not the last episode, but the episode before where he saves Martin's milk or whatever. That one
Martin's
I
Mill.
was huh?
Martin's Mill.
Yeah, yeah. I when he saves him and the kid looks at him,
Oh, that
I
was great. Yeah.
I thought I was like, man, I really like this guy's arc. You know what I mean? I even
Yeah,
said
yeah.
that to myself. I was like, I really like A Train's arc, what they're doing with him. That's crazy. This is really crazy because I never thought I would end up liking him, you know? But like,
Yeah.
and I love how they just don't jump from one like he's good to he's bad. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I love how they're like slowly building, you know, and you can start seeing his head kind of start working against Homelander, right? Against everything.
Yeah.
And he's like kind of like having this inner struggle. And you see these little things that build up to him being like, no, I'm gonna be the informant, and you know, I'm gonna save these people. And then, you know, I want to see where that goes because they've done such a good job in, again, not fully redeeming him, but that arc is I don't know. I think they're doing a great job with him, and that's
Yeah.
the standout. If we're talking about arcs, I think A Trains is the standout for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean they made he was felt very much like at the beginning of the show. He felt kind of like, and this might be, don't know what people are going to think about this, but he felt a lot like Kanye in the beginning of the show.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
But here now, I don't know who to compare him to in real life, but now he feels more heroic and he feels more redemptive, you know?
yeah.
And I thought for sure when he started feeling this way and when he started doing these things against Vaught, he's
Hmm.
dead. He's dead. By the end of the
Yeah,
season, he's gonna die. But
yeah,
I don't know now. You know, I'm not
yeah,
100% sure now. You know, we're gonna
yeah.
find out.
Same. But I like shows like this where you don't know, they're not afraid to kill off characters. So then yeah, you do have that worry where you're like, is this dude gonna die? Because I mean,
Yeah,
you're doing a lot, dude. You're doing a lot, and
yeah,
you know, I was surprised when they killed Cameron over A Train. You know, I was like, oh, and you
yeah.
know, because he like got saved by the nick of his teeth because you know, Ashley or whatever had her beef with Cameron, you know. So
Oh yeah. Well, I loved also that I mean they're developing a whole bunch of characters in this, including Ashley, where it's like, man, I hated her also. It's like I
yeah,
thought she was scum, and now I
yeah,
just kind of feel sorry for her. I feel sorry because she's
right.
trapped. You know,
She is.
she and a whole bunch of other people are trapped in that world because they're scared of what Homelander is going to do to them, you know? It's
Well, she almost resigned, remember? But then she didn't
yeah.
because she saw what they do to people that they even think are a leak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they even think you're a leak, then the dude lasered that
Yeah.
one chick, and that's immediately she like secretly shreds her resignation that she was about to turn in. I was like, oh man, that's when I started feeling bad for her too. I was like, oh man, she really has like nowhere to go. I almost, you know.
Yeah.
So
It's insane, dude.
mm,
I'm very curious where this season is going to end up. I don't know if they're going to try to recreate the whole the White House thing from the comic books where like, you know, he attack I don't know if they're going to do that in this season. Um I'd be down to see something like that, but that seems like
yeah,
some grand finale type of shit. So,
yeah.
what do you think is going to be in this last episode for the season 4?
Well, I think the assassination attempt.
Hmm.
So I think there's going to be the assassination attempt, and then they're going to be dealing with that, and then also, the virus has to put. I want to see something with the virus, like what's going on with
Yeah,
that, you know.
yeah,
So like that I've been wanting to see something develop with that, you know.
yeah,
So I don't know. I'm hoping we'll see, but I don't really know. which is a good thing. It's a good thing. I can't really like predict the ending, but I do think the assassination attempt is going to be the big thing, and I hope that they kind of push forward the plot line with the virus, because I think that's overdue. I think they should have been doing that, but you know, it is what
Yeah,
it is.
I don't think that Butcher is gonna die. I
No,
would be really surprised if they did. I would actually be a little upset if they killed him
me
because
too.
for for me the show is Butcher versus Homelander. You
It
know,
is.
that
It very
that's
much
the whole
is.
thing.
It very
Um,
much
and
is. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Eh,
We need to see that rivalry come to a better conclusion than what could be with
Yeah,
this last episode,
I
and
agree.
what about Huey? What do you think could be the development with him? Because he's been like through the ringer here, like last season he's all pumped up full of drugs. This season his dad dies, and he's getting assaulted.
Yeah, he's getting assaulted, and then you saw the last episode where he like thinks he's making love to Starlight, but it was just one of the
Oh yeah.
shapeshifters. You know,
Oh,
like that's crazy. That's crazy.
ew.
But I hope something happens with him, something good. Um, the one thing I'll say about the actor isn't that Quaid's son?
Yeah, Jack Quaid.
Yeah, yeah. And one
I
thing
like
I
him a
do
lot.
like and I really respect and appreciate is that I saw an interview with or it wasn't an interview, I think they were asking him in passing, but they asked him to address like the accusations of being a nepo baby, you know?
Yeah,
And I really loved his answer because like all these nepo babies that we see, you are a nepo baby. You are. It's not.
right.
It's not like, oh, are you a nepo baby? What do you feel about that? No, no, no. You are a nepo baby. And so what makes me upset is when a nepo baby is asked, they they act like their parents had nothing to do with their success. But this fool, he was like, dude, I getting into the industry and getting noticed is more than half the battle. And I had parents that are in the industry. So like I understand that I have a privilege that a lot of people do not have. So I understand why people are calling me a nepo baby. What do I feel about that? The way I come to peace with that is by my work ethic. So because I did get that door opened for me because of my parents, then the way I make up for that is by like really, really working hard at my craft because I understand that I did get that privilege that a lot of people don't have. And that answer to me, I
Exactly.
was like, that's so cool. I love that
Yeah.
you don't dismiss your privilege because there's nothing wrong with it. Like if your parents are in a place where
Yeah.
they're able to help you out, why would you deny that? Just say, hey, like they helped me out. I don't know why a lot of them try to like erase that. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
so
I
it's
mean, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of these guys want to come off as like, it's kind of like in politics, they want to come off like blue collar almost in that
yeah, yeah,
industry. Like,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
Quaid's cool because he not only acknowledged it, but he
Mm.
has that work ethic, and he's also good in as
He's
an
good.
actor,
Yeah,
and
he's
he
great.
doesn't take himself too seriously. He
It's
seems
true.
like an overall cool dude. Like I've seen he goes on, um, he's a guest star sometimes on Red Letter Media
Is he
I think on
really?
Half in the Bag. Yeah, or Best of the Worst, I think. Like
What?
he is that cool. Yeah.
Oh my god,
For real.
that's cool. I
He's
haven't seen him.
went over there. Like he's one of those dudes. So I mean,
That's
he
cool.
seems just like cool. Like that
Yeah,
buys you a lot of points also,
it does.
you
It
know.
does.
Um,
It does.
you know.
And he played that well. Like just acknowledge it because people see it. So like to when you
Sure. Yeah.
dismiss it, you're almost calling people an idiot. You know what I mean? You're like being like, I'm not a nepo baby. My parents had nothing to do with my success. So then all of us are like, dude, it like you instantly don't like that person. You know what I mean?
My
It's
parents, Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan, had nothing to do with that.
yeah,
How
yeah.
dare
Come
you?
on. That would be ridiculous. So I'm glad that he was
Yeah.
just very honest about it and was like, yeah, I did, but the way to kind of make up for that, or to is to respect it, is to acknowledge it, and then work hard to say that I earned it, and I deserved it. You know what I mean? So as
Yeah,
much
for
as I
sure.
can, right?
Absolutely. Whoa.
Whoa,
um, yeah, that was a pretty crazy episode.
it was crazy. It was crazy.
Uh, we just watched the season finale of The Boys season 4. And Daniel, what are your initial thoughts on the episode?
I liked it. I thought it was cool. I thought it was, it's on brand, right? I mean,
Mm,
it was on brand, and it's funny how, we're talking about how, this mirrors, like art imitates life, life imitates art, you know what I mean? And there's an, these shows, these episodes were filmed in, I think, in 2023, right?
yeah, I
And
think last year. Yeah.
yeah, last year, right? And so it's crazy how, I mean, I don't know if it's just predictable how people will act, like the masses or whatever, but it's
Hmm.
it's it's pretty wild. Like it's pretty it's funny. I mean, it's not
Yeah.
funny. It's kind of
It's
dark, but
sad.
it's sad. There we go. That's the word. Sad is the word. Sad is the word for sure. Um
Yeah.
but yeah, I liked the show. I was surprised. I mean, I guess not really that surprised, when I think about it. But remember, we were saying we had faith in Ryan, but
Yeah.
Ryan ended up not being it. You know
Oh,
what I mean? He
yeah,
wasn't it.
man.
So
That that was a little disappointing in
mhm.
that whole scene was kind of my major disappointment with this episode was how they handled that, because I thought they were going to go in a more interesting direction with his character, in that, not because I just want someone to be Superman in this show or anything, but I was hoping Ryan would be a little, and maybe he will be in the next season. They kind of leave it a little open-ended at the end. But what they do with him, killing that CIA official and everything. Um, I don't know. How did you feel about that? Because I was a little disappointed by that.
That no, it's funny because that was my least favorite part of the episode, was that.
Yeah,
So it's funny that you bring that up, because that was literally my least favorite part, and it kind of trickles down into everything else that happens afterwards. Um,
yeah,
but because then that's what causes Butcher to kill Newman, right? And then after he
yeah,
kills Newman, then Singer gets exposed, and then then they have martial law, and then all the
yeah.
episode ends the way it ends. So I don't know how else they were gonna do that without Butcher killing Newman, and then what else was gonna get Butcher to kill Newman.
Yeah, get
Um,
him to that point where he
right,
realizes he has to take all the soups out, right? It would be
right, right,
Ryan, right?
right. Um,
Yeah,
but
I get
but
that.
but I didn't like how they got there, because it,
Yeah.
it didn't make sense to me that,
Mhm.
like, what was he not listening to what the lady said? The lady told him, like, your mom was
I know. Yeah,
like,
exactly.
were you not listening? Like, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me, like how he's like, hey, I won't kill my dad who did all these horrible things, and then immediately
Who
kills
I
her.
just saw was like going to do something to me in the previous
Yeah,
scene.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
So that's where I was like, I don't know. It just
it was
seemed kind
dumb.
of forced a little bit to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I was disappointed, I think mainly because Ryan so far in the season was pitched as being like a free thinker, someone who stood up for, I mean, he's a kid, of course, but
Mhm.
he was standing up for what he thought was right. I mean, that moment where he's talking into into to the TV, to the audience, I thought that was the moment where he's like, I'm starting to think for myself. When he walks away from Homelander, that's when he's like really stepping up and everything. And then in this moment, um, I don't know. He just maybe hearing that was shocking for him, but
Mm.
I don't know. I didn't think it was handled very well. His reaction, I didn't think it was written the best in that moment, unfortunately.
No, exactly. Like it didn't, like I
Didn't line
understand
up.
how, like we were saying, like we had to get Butcher to do this, and then that is what
Yeah,
kind of like made Sage's plan all, fall into place. I totally get that. I totally get that. I don't understand, like it just didn't make sense to me. Like it can't be both, right? It can't be you're
yeah,
self-righteous, but then you just heard everything that Homelander did, and then
yeah.
here you are killing this unarmed lady who simply just told you what happened. She didn't do any of these things. She didn't do what Homelander did to your mom. She didn't annihilate an entire people of a plane full of people. He didn't annihilate all these other people. And he's so like, how could you make me feel this way towards my dad, and because of this,
Yeah,
so now I'm gonna kill you, like that. I don't know. It just didn't. It didn't. It didn't make sense to me.
yeah. And also
So
the way she was acting, like blocking the door and
yeah,
everything, going all
yeah,
extra and stuff. I was like,
yeah.
what are you this is not
The
going
way.
to, yeah, this is, why
Mm,
would you ever think this is going to bring him to your cause?
yeah,
Like approaching it this way.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
yeah. It is ridiculous, and yeah, that was my least favorite part of the episode. I thought it was pretty good before
Yeah.
that, and after, not the shock value, but like afterwards, like, okay, I get it. We had to get to martial law, so that Butcher ends up wanting to end all the soups, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I get all that. I get all that, but
Yeah.
I don't know, that one part right there where I was like, wait, this doesn't. I was like, wait, I don't. I'm trying to follow here, but like it doesn't. That
Yeah.
when your brain is just, it just doesn't. It's like it
Does
just
not
didn't fit.
compute.
It
Yeah.
didn't fit. It wasn't fluid, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, totally.
Mm.
That story element of getting Butcher to that place of his role at the end of the boys comic book, where he is like the straight up antagonist,
Mm.
which I dug that they did it in a different way, but that
Mm.
came at the cost, in my opinion, of Ryan's character in this season, like
Yeah.
everything that was built up by making everybody in that scene really dumb. I was like, what? Now I'm hoping in season 5, it's like they make it so that Ryan is just on his own now, because he didn't go back to Homelander at the end of the episode. So
He did
I'm
it.
really,
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that he's just finding his own way.
Mhm.
But we just talked about a scene we didn't really like. A scene that I really liked, and then I want to hear what you really liked. Um, was that scene which I thought was really tense, with Newman being outed as a soup on
Oh
the
yeah.
news and everything.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so good. So
Yeah,
freaking good, dude.
that was good. That was good.
Yeah,
I liked it too. I thought it was tense, and I didn't expect it. I didn't expect her to be put on blast like that.
yeah,
So, that was pretty good. And again, it's good because of the tension that we feel like as a viewer,
mhm,
you know what I mean? And
yeah,
and so yeah, that's what I was saying. Like I felt the opposite of that tension. I was like, my brain was trying to figure out like, why is all this happening right now? Really, like, this is your reaction, Ryan, and this is how you're approaching this. But that scene with Newman, it did create that tension within me where I was like, oh, what, and like, what's gonna happen now? You know what I mean?
yeah.
Um,
I
so
love that.
I dug that too. That was put together well. You know.
Yeah. Well, what did you feel about the resolution in this episode with Newman? Because they're building her up kind of as either she's going to go up against Homelander, or they're going to work together, and then you see what happens with her and Butcher at the end. So what were your thoughts when you saw that? Because I'm a little split, but what did you think?
I didn't like it because I felt like they were all pretty, like, even though she was not not an antagonist, and she obviously wanted her own power, but I felt that she was in a place where, I mean, if the boys were willing to believe her, I don't know why Butcher would go straight to killing her. Like
Yeah.
even if Ryan went bad, right? Even if Ryan went bad, I don't understand why he just went in and just
Just went
murked her.
straight into
Yeah, just
assassination, dude.
like no talking, nothing. And she's
Yeah.
there like surrendering, basically, essentially surrendering. She would be much more of
Yeah.
an asset to Butcher,
Yeah.
even Butcher and his cause. I don't know why. I don't know. Like Butcher seemed kind of dumb in that situation too. You know what I mean? Like why?
Yeah.
I
Do you
don't get
think he
it.
was taken over by this virus, or like because it's very akin, his power is very akin to a symbiote. I mean, Kessler is kind of that figure, in his head. They establish that Kessler is, just a figment of his imagination, but it acts as the way that the symbiote works for like Peter Parker, as another personality that grants him the power. Do you think that's kind of what was going on there? Because I
Yeah,
was thinking the same thing. Like, this is like, first of all, this is a little anticlimactic,
yeah,
and
yeah,
also
yeah.
why would he do it unless it was just straight up Kessler?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. And to me, again, I didn't hate the episode. I didn't hate the show. It was
Yeah.
whatever. But like you said, it was kind of like at the end there, it just kind of felt like lazy a little bit. Like I felt like the writers were writing like they knew the end point, and
Yeah.
then they just had to kind of like rush to get there, like
Hmm.
rush, like it wasn't, not that it wasn't. See, that's what's upsetting. Everything was so developed. Everything was developed in a certain way. It's just kind of like they had to make a jump into a different direction, and then that there's a few of those scenes, like you said, what we shouldn't be doing that, right? Like me and you shouldn't be
Yeah.
going like, oh well, I guess Kessler did
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
right? Like you know what I mean? Like we shouldn't be doing that. Like the show, the actions should just make sense. Not that they're
Yeah.
always gonna
Ryan's
make
on his
sense.
own, finding himself, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It just feels like me and you right now are doing the reaching for the show. You know what I mean? To make it
Yeah.
fit, but it didn't make sense. And I get your explanation makes sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. And
But I'm
maybe
just
like you said,
guessing.
yeah, and you're like you're saying, maybe in season 5, maybe they do make it make more sense, and they go with that,
Hmm.
with what you're saying, and I get that. I would buy it. It just feels a little lazy, like
Yeah.
um like, because again, even if Butcher's goal is to kill Homelander, why would you give him the country by killing Newman? Like, why? I don't understand. Like,
Right. Right.
and especially
Now it's just
Butcher.
harder for everybody.
Now it's
It's
just
harder
harder.
for, yeah.
Yeah, now it's just
Yeah.
harder. You just
It's
made it
even
harder for
if
yourself.
yeah, exactly. Even if he has those powers, and I'm not 100% convinced that Newman is dead. I'm
Mm,
not really sure. I mean, I know we see her ripped apart and everything, but I feel like I see that happen to everybody with superpowers in the show, and they come back.
yeah, right.
So I'm gonna keep, I don't know. I don't know whether to take it at it for face value or not. Um, because they really made a point at the beginning of this season even to show that she is near invincible.
Right.
Um, so I don't even know if ripping her apart would would like do that. Um,
Yeah, it might not.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I guess we have to just wait. This ending very much felt like a part one,
Right.
or a setup to the last season,
Right.
which is a little disappointing, because I feel that with every season finale before this one, they felt like the end of that chapter. Like
Right.
last season, I thought the season finale, where Soldier Boy and Maeve, and they all team up against Soldier Boy, like that's a great like end to that chapter, and it
Mhm.
feels really climactic. Where here it's just like, okay, so the big reveal for this, the big oh shit moment is Butcher's now the antagonist. Well, we
Yeah,
kind of saw that coming, you know, and
right.
I don't know. I didn't I liked the episode, but I didn't love it as much as I loved other finales for the show.
Yeah, again, like like I was saying, before, this is my least favorite season. Out of
Right,
all the
right.
seasons, this is definitely my least favorite season. And again, that doesn't mean that I hate the season, but it's just
Mhm.
my least favorite. It's my least favorite for sure. And for
Yeah.
reasons like this is what I was saying earlier. This is what I was saying earlier. It just seemed a little like not this lazy like in this episode, but I did have the feeling like, oh man, you guys are just going for like the low-hanging fruit, and that's okay. I mean, I'm still gonna watch it. I still like it, but like I don't know. And it's this episode kind of like proved that to me. Like I felt
Mhm.
like you said, like it wasn't on the nose to the point where you're like, oh my God, this is so on the nose, but it was leaning that way. I wouldn't say ham-fisted, but it was leaning that way. And then this episode had scenes that, yeah, I would label ham-fisted.
Mhm.
They were like pretty forced scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
I mean, were there any like of the side plots that hit home for you? Because there's a lot going on in this episode. You know, there's the stuff with Annie and the shapeshifter. There's the president going to the prison and ordering the hit on Newman and everything. There's the political component. Um, what was there anything that wasn't the main story that you really dug?
yeah, Frenchie and Kimiko finally
Oh
kissing.
yeah,
That
her finally
1000%.
speaking.
That was my favorite. I was like, dude, find it, like, dude, come on, man. Like, but I'm
Yeah.
glad it happened. I was happy with that. I like how Starlight got her powers. I just don't understand why she didn't fight right there. You know, did
Oh,
she just?
like the soups and the guards and everything.
Yeah, I don't understand why she didn't fight if she got her powers back. Was
Hmm.
she just assuming that she would lose, or I
Maybe.
don't know.
I, I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah,
that was basically she was going up against Magneto, right? Like
yeah.
the Magneto adjacent. But I don't know. I felt like she could have put up a better fight
Hmm.
there. But especially for someone that she loves, like didn't they just get engaged, or like
Well,
at least the cat's out of the bag, you know?
yeah. They might as well be engaged now.
Right, right. And so I don't know. I mean, I guess Huey kind of nods to her and was like, "You just get away, save yourself," kind of thing. So I'm gonna go with that, like you said. Like, okay, I'm just assuming that she thought, okay, I'm gonna lose this fight, so I'm just gonna get away to fight another day. But
Yeah,
but I don't know. I feel like she could have beat that kid. I don't know. I was that the only soup there when it was just the Magneto guy, right?
yeah, yeah. It was just her and a bunch of soldiers, Vought
Mm,
people, or and
yeah.
not even. I think it was the military actually. It wasn't even
Right, right.
just Vought. But I think they. I actually glad you brought that up because that last moment where they're playing Nirvana and everything, and you're
Mhm.
seeing everyone get taken down and all that, and the kids from Gen V show up and all that. Um,
Right.
that was the most exciting for me, the most exciting part of of the episode where you're seeing the ground laid work, the late. How do you say that? They're laying the groundwork
Yeah.
for season 5. I think I that it I hope it's a really killer season, you know, like The Great
Yeah.
Escape or something, you know?
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's martial law now. And obviously, well, I don't know about obviously, but I feel like in season 5 they're gonna reveal to the public that Homelander was the killer. He's the killer, like I think
Yeah.
they're gonna have to tell the public, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so when they do that, like, are we gonna get the final like superhero battles, like these, how's that gonna go down? How is it all gonna go down? I don't know. I'm excited for season 5. I mean, like you said, like they laid the groundwork. They kind of stumbled into the finish line a little bit for this season. They kind of like they stumbled into it, but I'm excited for the next race, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Season 5, I'm hoping season 5, since it is the last season of the show, is just really like top tier, really good. With what you're talking about, with like these revelations coming to the public now, and now
Yeah.
it's Hail Mary time, and
Yeah.
bringing back that footage from about the plane, of the him leaving those people to die and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really hoping that is incorporated so that we can get just that chaotic end to the show, because it would just be great. And I hope they bring back some of the characters from Gen V, and because they're in custody. I remember that at the end of the show, some of the main characters are in custody, and maybe they meet up with Huey and Kimiko. I mean, that would A-Train, dude. I hope he comes back.
Yeah, A-Train should come back. A-Train's out there too. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm excited for season 5. I think, like you said, I think, the big reveals are the reveals that happened here. I think at the end here they were a little forced, but it does set up, like you said, the big reveals for the next season. And I'm excited. I think we're gonna have to have battles, right? Superhero battles for the season 5. That's gonna need to take place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, especially if they have like martial law, and they're building an army. The government is building an army of soups to take over it all. Like, do you remember that? I think it was in the first episode where they're looking at that list of soups, for recruits for the 7, and they come up with Sister Sage, and they're showing all these different ones. That's got to be setting them up for the next season. When you need an army of soups and everything, because some of the actors there, in that little list, I recognize, like they're actors. They're not just people in costumes. So
right.
I'm really hoping they incorporate that.
Yeah, me too. I think they will. I don't really think they have any other place to go, especially because they took us to martial law with this. They kind of threw Ryan to the wind, and yeah, there's a lot of open ends. Like you said, this one didn't really feel like the chapter ended. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
there's gonna be some big stuff that kind of needs to happen for season 5. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but I am excited. I just
me too.
Like I said, I do think they stumbled into the finish line. I do think so. But even that being said, that doesn't take my excitement away for season 5. I'm still going to be down to watch it, and yeah, and I'm excited. I'm excited for it.
Oh, well, dude, especially with the return of Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
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 How do you think he's going to be incorporated?
Yeah, let's do it. I'd be down. I'm down.
Yeah.
I love Eccles, dude. I'm down, dude. I'm down. I thought I wanted him to be Batman. Shit,
I know. Would you? I'd be down with that. He voices Batman in these recent animated films.
He does, yeah, and he does a great job. He's fantastic. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. So
yeah,
I'd be down to see
I
him
love
in the
it too.
suit. And I think he can pull it off. He can pull off a Bruce Wayne. He can pull off a Batman,
Yeah.
So
yeah, you need a Batman who's like like dad age, since Damian's up in there. So it makes sense that they would come on, do it.
Yeah. And as CW as it was, I have to confess, I am a pretty big Supernatural fan. I did watch
Oh,
every
yeah.
episode. Yeah, I was a Supernatural fan for sure.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
Daniel, we're going to wrap up the discussion about this show, The Boys. Lots of fun. The episode, though not perfect, engaging, and in many ways blew my mind, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm excited for season 5. I think that's where we're ending it off. We're excited
That's
for how it's going to end, you know.
that's all we can ask for. Yeah.
Exactly. So Daniel, thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah.
This was great. I love talking about this, and
Always.
it's going to be a great podcast.
Let's do it. I'm excited to see it up.
Yeah, where can the people find you?
Well, I'm putting up a channel, Daniel Rumbles. So I'm gonna start making reviews and rankings and all that. So stay tuned for that. It's not up yet, but I'm getting everything kind of set up. But
Okay.
eventually I'm gonna get my own stuff going. So then maybe I'll have you on there. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I want to have a YouTube channel, Instagram, and all that. So stay tuned for Daniel Rumbles. He's coming soon. So.
Well, hopefully the next time you're on, we'll be able to kind of promo that and everything. And
Let's go.
I would love to hear more about it and everything.
Of course. Let's do it. I'm down.
All right, guys. What did you think of The Boys? Thank you so much for listening. Have a good one. Stay safe and goodbye.